We're live.
Good evening and welcome. Welcome to the show that never ends. It's going to feel a little bit like that this time. First of all, I'd like to say Merry Christmas to you all, and I hope you're enjoying what has just been the shortest day and what is now to become the longest night. But after today, folks, for a few milliseconds tomorrow, the daylight will be that much longer as we start heading towards spring. Welcome to the Hawk and Owl Trust live show, everybody. My name's Chris Sperring. I'm Conservation Officer for the Hawk and Owl Trust. And boy, have we got a show for you tonight. We've got ourselves organised. I think that's the case. If you actually look to my left now, come on, here he comes. This is Mark.
Hello.
Mark is producer, director of all things, well, whenever I look around here, it looks like the Starship Enterprise, the ways he's got everything set up here. But we've got a heck of a show for you tonight. I'll just run through a few things, actually. We've actually got a list. So first of all, we're going to have a look at the webcams. We're going to have a spin round all the webcams. Now, obviously, at this time of the year, they are not necessarily occupied, but we can have a look around and see all the latest information. We've got some pre-records to show you as well of the latest news from them. Then we're going to have a look in more detail at the breeding season, in particular for tawny owls and barn owls during 2025, basically what went on, a look back. And then we're going to bring you something international. Shall I do a spoiler now? Or
yeah.
No, they'll all go.
Oh,
no spoilers.
Okay, fair
No,
enough.
we're not going to do spoilers. It's a bit of an international theme coming up then. And we normally have a look at Shatwick Moor Nature Reserve, but tonight we're going to be focusing on Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve, and we've got an exclusive interview with David Ward as a pre-record, so that's coming up. Then we're looking at tawny owls in churches. Tawny owls going to church, something like that. Farm cluster groups, which is a brand new project which we started here in Somerset. That's really exciting. And I think that should about do us for the show, shouldn't it? So let's make a start and let's have a look around the webcam, see what's going on. Come on, Mark.
So, nobody home at the moment.
Nobody at home in our barn
no,
now, but let's just have a look here because we can see some more lighter coloured pellets there and the darker coloured pellets. So we can see there's definitely fresh evidence that they've been around in our Somerset Barn Owl webcam box.
Definitely, and we even have the proof of that. So this was recorded earlier. This was them just before they left a couple of hours today.
1653 to be precise, according to that. You can see the male here just waking up, having a stretch, just about to jump out. Or do something else actually before he jumps out. What you'll notice is this is an apex box and fairly large box, and this is part of our Adopt a Box scheme. And if you want to find out more information about our Adopt a Box scheme, just pop along to our website, and it's got its our Adopt a Box scheme has its own pages there. And I think actually with Christmas coming, I don't know what you think, Mark, but I think adopting one of our boxes is a pretty good Christmas present, isn't it?
I think it's an amazing present that can lead to things that you just don't understand yet. I mean, if I'd have guessed back then that we would have had all of this born out of an Adopt a Box, you just wouldn't believe it. So yeah, you never know where this thing's going to lead. So
and obviously the money that we raise through the Adopt a Box scheme actually helps us to carry out a lot of the conservation work that we do, a lot of the farm visits that we do, etc., etc. And not just for Christmas presents, but obviously there's birthdays to think of and things like that. I think it's a great way. And obviously membership as well.
Yeah.
Back to the webcams.
So, yeah, we're going to have a quick look at the Tawny Live.
So this is the Tawny Owl Box Live, and you can check with the time there. But this is at Sculthorpe Moor. So this is it at the moment. And what I'm finding fascinating there, Mark, is actually looking at those feathers in the bottom of the box, because they are not tawny owl feathers.
They are not.
They look like they could be. They're definitely corvid feathers, possibly jackdaws. So does that mean either the jackdaws are going in the box, or the tawny owls may be up to some skullduggery with the jackdaws? Have we got some footage of those tawny owls?
We have. So if we go to our...
And obviously this is a pre-record. Thanks to Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve for sending down these footages. Oh, that is beautiful. Look at that. But adults just preening there, looking straight out. You can see and in comes the mate. That looks like the male. And the female there, giving a bit of attention. Nice bit of pre-breeding behaviour taking place there. They really do look settled.
Yeah.
Very settled. That's nice.
And I'm sure what will be going on right now is gentle chittering to each other, reassuring, which is such a really lovely sound.
Yeah. Different to the barn owls. Obviously, the barn owls, when you get the two barn owls together like this really close, you hear this very high pitch.
Yeah.
And quite often when the male is encouraging the female into the box, so I'm talking tawny owls now, you'll hear some lovely wavering calls from him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we got some peregrines.
And this was recorded on the 26th of the 11th at 12:17, and already it looks like pre-breeding activity as well here. Looks like encouragement to come and look at the scrape, come and look at the box. Again, wonderful footage. And don't forget that when the breeding season comes, you'll be able to watch these webcams and follow these birds all the way through. That's lovely. That's a great idea, having that internal camera placed there. That is pretty special. That is really good. There's obviously a lot of calling. I've got an earpiece, haven't I?
Yeah.
So I should be able to hear that.
Do you want me to play that again, or do you want to move on?
No. You carry on. Carry on for the audience. So this is... Oh, that's gorgeous. This is Norwich Cathedral.
Yeah.
This is the pair there. Oh, and again, I didn't get the date on that.
The Norwich Cathedral is the 14th of November.
14th of November, but again, it's a pair bonding there. Reassurance between the two. And again, this is a very famous webcam you can keep track of through the spring and the summer. Very windy there in Norwich. Grip on tight, folks.
Don't the Hawk and Owl Trust have a... Is it Norwich where they have a viewing point during the breeding season?
Yes, down below there's a viewing point, and that's manned for a few months during the season.
Yeah. So this is
obviously this is Bath.
Bath on the 16th.
I recognise Bath Cathedral there.
16th of December for this one.
16th of December. Lovely.
No audio on these ones, unfortunately.
Oh, right. Okay. So I don't need that. And again, so this is the very latest information. Birds present, which is what you really want to see. And even from our own webcam here with the barn owls, having the fact that we've got the birds here is incredibly important, especially when we think about the next subject that we're going to be talking about. Yeah. And so this is 17th of December.
Yeah.
And
the Norfolk Tawnies.
This is the Norfolk Tawny owls, the ones you've just been looking at before. And now, of course, we've got the bird actually in the box, the owl in the box, looking out.
It's a great internal view.
It is a very good internal view. No signs of a scrape yet. No.
And no COVID feathers when this was recorded.
No, COVID feathers.
COVID
we don't want any COVID in there. No. But no, no signs of the feathers there. So that probably does indicate that there was some skullduggery going on. So that's great.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful little trip round. Wonderful little trip round the webcams there. And now I think what we'll do is move swiftly on to talking about what happened this year. So for those of you who have been keeping track on some of the reports that we've been making on the Hawk and Owl Trust Facebook page, you will actually note the fact that it was pretty doomy and gloomy in some of the sites. Barn owls were present, or and they just weren't doing anything. And a lot of the boxes that I was checking, we were finding owls present and even owls molting, almost like they'd gone, okay, we're just not going to bother this year. It's just not going to happen. And the same thing very much with tawny owls. Now, I think this was a weather effect. And in my garden, certainly, the last substantial rain that we had for the winter was the 17th of December. I'm one of those people that records the weather in the garden. You know, not very interesting, but typically English, I'm afraid.
Useful to know.
Yeah, this year it was very useful to know. So the next substantial rain that we had in the garden was actually the 3rd of September. So very little rain in between. And of course, the effect on the spring of slow growing grass through lack of moisture and constant sunshine was the fact that the grass growth is suppressed, and that will have affected, if you're a barn owl, that would have affected the short-tailed vole in particular, and that slowdown in the vegetation growth had a dramatic effect on the pre-breeding behaviour. There were exceptions, which I will talk about as we go through this. And what you're seeing here is one of the farms that I'm going to, and you'll see the cattle. And the interesting thing about the cows here is that throughout the whole of the spring and the summer, I seem to be doing that typically English thing and talking about the weather and the response from the birds to the weather. And of course, it struck me when I got to this farm that when I was talking to the farmer here, he was saying, well, it's the middle of summer and I'm virtually out of hay. Mm. I'm virtually out of silage. Why? Because there's no grass for the animals. So he was after feeding them the winter fodder. So obviously move that through to the winter and you have a big problem. Unless he's got backup stores, he's going to have to be buying in a lot of winter food for these animals. And indeed, if any of you tried to buy hay at the moment, it's quite expensive. And the reason for that has been last summer's weather. And so the effect on the birds we can talk about, and we're going to talk about that now in the next few slides. But let's bear in mind that the consequences of all these extreme weather conditions on us. These animals need feeding. So if we move to the next slide, this was confronted me on a farm that I go to every single year, and it's the first time I've seen it like this. So this is maize growing, and it's not maize for human consumption. Once again, it's maize being grown for animal feed. And because the ground was so dry, if you look into the background of the picture, you can see there are patches of maize up there, but there's nothing like there should be. And so once again, on this field, by the way, you can see some of those lovely mature trees there with holes in. A great site for little owls and barn owls, and unfortunately, neither bred at this site this year. And the reason for that is there are margins around this field, but the grass didn't grow for them, and the insects obviously were in very low response because of the weather and the vegetation around there. So that affected the little owls as well as the barn owls. So basically, if we've got these extremes going on, I wonder if there's anybody out there who's an economist. who could actually answer this question. Normally we take questions, but this is a question going out from me. I wonder how much of human food inflation at the moment is being caused just by the weather. Interesting. Next picture. So this is its extremity. This should be nice long grass. It just did not get going, and unfortunately, where the grass didn't grow, the sun can have a major impact on the ground itself. And literally, what you're looking at there is completely burnt grass, not burnt because of fire, but burnt off completely by the sun. And the only thing that's doing well there is thistle, and it's basically a great colonizer, and it's able to take over. And so again, you can see that there's not much hope for a short-tailed vole in that type of landscape. On again. But there were rays of hope. There were sites where barn owls did do well. So the question is, why? What was the big differences? Well, let's move to the next one. In areas where the rough grassland margins were already established, it was very difficult for the sun to penetrate right down into the soil level. Where, for example, there were margins that are normally cut during the autumn period the previous year, then obviously that just didn't get going. But where the margins are more permanent or cut less often, then those added protection to the ground. And indeed, even though the vast majority of the spring and the summer were relatively dry, there was some moisture in the air, particularly in the evenings and in low-lying areas, and that would collect down at the bottom of this long grass and was able to just keep the green shoots going to a certain extent, at least, so that the voles could keep going. And the important thing about this long grass also is that was affording a good cover for the voles in these particular areas. So again, it made me look at this and go, wow, we need to go back to basics big time. And we really need to think about pushing margins a lot more. And that'll come up as we go through the program a little bit more. Okay, on again. Now this was fascinating. So a number of the sites that I visit are on Exmoor, and when I got to Exmoor fairly early on in the breeding season, I visited one particular site where it's been rock steady for over 25 years, and they've produced young every single year without fail. This year, the pair were present, and the nest contents themselves were empty. There was nothing in there, and it didn't even look like there'd been an attempt. And the landscape surrounding was incredibly dry. On again. Oh no, sorry, we'll keep it this one. That was my mistake. So the next site I went to after this was even higher up on Exmoor and was surrounded by what would have been fires. The area was completely black. And it wasn't until I got almost over the other side of Exmoor, where I could see the Severn Estuary, that suddenly there was this one farm mark that was green, and it was on my next call.
Fantastic.
And the whole of all of the fields were completely green and lush. So when I got to the farmer's door, knocked on his door and said, you coming with me to check the box? And he said, yeah, sure. And I said, by the way, where'd you keep the hose pipe? I couldn't resist it. And he said, oh, you're referring to, everybody's talking about that, the fact that I got such green fields. And he said, well, if you actually go to the top of my land and look over, you can see Porlock right down at the estuary. Yeah. And he said, every night, because it's so hot, the mist rises up from the estuary and just moves slightly inland and stops and drops drizzle from the estuary straight down onto his land. And this is the result he had at his farm.
Sounds familiar.
The only one of all the sites I checked on Exmoor that actually had them was the one with the green fields.
Yeah.
Thank you, Severn Estuary. On to the next one. And of course, who's this?
I'm actually wearing the same T-shirt,
You
embarrassingly.
are actually wearing the same T-shirt. Well, this was way back when.
Yeah.
He still hasn't taken his T-shirt off since June or July. I think this was July, wasn't
I
it?
think it was July, yeah.
Now, the webcam box here had 4 young,
4 young, yeah.
and that was against the grain. So what was the big difference here? Mark, what was the big difference?
Once again, it was early morning mist. Well, we believe anyway, because we had consistently early morning mists or overnight, dampness on the ground. You could walk in the summer, walk into the field, and you'd walk back out again with wet feet.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. And where this webcam actually is right down. You couldn't get much lower on the Somerset levels, could you?
No.
I was driving here tonight and I drove through 2 floods. And I've actually got to find another way of getting away from Mark's house tonight, because if I can't get out, I'm here for Christmas, mate.
You are? Yeah.
I nearly didn't get here. I actually got partway through the flood and opened the door.
And you could see it,
and realised that it was the same level as the door. So, yep. And so on again. Let's have a look at some of your babies that you had here. Sorry, that's me with one of them. And I think that's it for these.
There's one more.
There's one more, yep.
Yeah.
So you had great success here, and obviously that you have a loyal audience which follows your particular webcam. And let's not forget, once again, this is one of our adapter boxes. And if you're thinking about a really good Christmas present, go to our Hawk and Owl Trust website and have a look at our adopter box pages there. And you can actually adopt a box, send it as a present to someone. Brilliant present. If you're scratching around thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to get someone? Just go to our website. We'll sort it all out for you. No problem at all.
Fantastic.
So again, the success here was caused by the fact that there was a reservoir of damp. There was good voles here. You managed to keep it going. But I noticed this dry emphasis was not just in areas around southwest England. We went to sites in Wales, we went to sites in Scotland, and exactly the same things happening there as well.
Yeah.
And now we've moved from one weather extreme and we're now into the next one here on the Somerset levels, because as I've already alluded, show that picture there. Show everybody what's going on outside at the moment. There we go. I'm afraid that's not snow. That is rain, and it's really pouring down.
It hasn't stopped all afternoon, evening, has it? It's been consistent.
Yeah, and the floods are back. And so, back to our main theme. Our barn owls are obviously facing another problem tonight, but they are out there. They're not in their boxes, as we've just alluded
the mainstream,
to.
Yeah, they're still not there.
They haven't come back. They're obviously sheltering somewhere else.
Yeah.
There must be somewhere where they're sheltering.
Yeah.
Right, onwards. And of course, you didn't just have barn owl success, you had kestrel success.
We did, 4 chicks.
4 chicks again.
Yeah.
So wonderful success, but you were watching them catching insects as well as small mammals.
Yeah. It amazed me, actually. I thought we were genuinely worried that, because they were nesting nearby. We've got a bird table, as we saw last live show, that is very active, and we thought, the kestrels are going to be really, harassing those birds. And actually, I was quite surprised how few, if any, they took, and it was literally voles. So they're dependent on these voles as well as the owls.
Yep. Well, I mean, that opens up. We're going to get that question. It's going to come, so I'm going to get rid of that one straight away. If you've got a good habitat for voles, it doesn't matter what predator you throw at it. I mean, I've been getting questions from people who are noticing pine martins for the first time, saying, how is that going to affect my voles? It doesn't matter if you've got the right habitat, and providing the voles are in a preyable number, that means a good number. They will basically recycle their populations on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what predator you put into that arena, it can't dent the population. That's the whole point. Okay.
Couple of little questions. PL7028 asks, how should a barn owl nesting box be constructed? There are many different shapes and arrangements. What's the proper one? And are tawny and barn owl nest boxes, do they differ in structure?
Yes, they do. So basically, we've shown you already, you may as well go back to our webcam box.
Okay.
So we can have a look at the external. The box that we use is that's good actually. Keep on that one. So that's tawny owl. So that's basically an upright box, mimics a hole in the tree, and the owls would drop into that rotten stump, if that was a rotten stump, and they would drop down into the bottom there. The reason why it's reasonably deep there is to offer them some protection. There are some boxes you can get which aren't so deep, and basically with the deep ones, people often say, well, how do the chicks get out? They get out. They can just literally climb over onto the side and they literally crawl out. These boxes are very popular with tawny owls. Now, if you go to our webcam, the one here, so this is an apex box. This is the one we prefer to use. There are many designs you can use. There are also more square boxes which can be used for inside barns, etc. And this is actually attached to the tree. It can be banded, so you can use webbing straps around if you don't want to drill into the tree. But we use galvanized bolts into the tree, so obviously those galvanized bolts do not rust. And they are big enough that when if the tree was to fall down and you get a logger coming along with a chainsaw, the bolt stands out to them. In the old days, the very old days, people used to put up boxes with nails, and that was a complete disaster for somebody with a chainsaw. Yeah. But they can see these bolts, they stand out, and they can just undo the bolt and remove it and carry on doing their logging. But these boxes are incredibly effective if they're placed into the right environments. But the ultimate question, of course, is the fact that you've got different styles. Does that mean the birds will keep to their styles? The answer to that, I'm afraid, is no. I'm afraid we have to put signs up, don't we?
Yeah.
Because the tawny owls will go in the barn owl boxes and the barn owls will go in the tawny owl boxes.
Or the kestrels will go into the tawny box, which is exactly what happened here.
Yes. And that is, obviously from the kestrel's perspective, that is a potential disaster. And of course, Mark then puts up the correct box.
Yeah.
The correct box for the kestrels, and puts a sign out, and of course the kestrels oblige by going in. But yeah, no, it's... you can have many different designs. Basically, if you think about it from these birds' perspectives, what are they looking for? They're looking for a hole in the tree and it's got to be nice and dark, that offers them protection, that when they're down, basically they can see up, and anything coming in like a squirrel or a jackdaw, they can just flip on their backs, raise their talons, and if that thing coming in has got any sense, it'll go, not a good idea, I'll go in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I imagine squirrels, our barn owls were harassed by squirrels early in the year, luckily before the chicks were born.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had a real concern because they were very blasé, the squirrels, about going in with the barn owls, and the barn owls they're actually surprisingly small. They would generally flee, and we were concerned that, they just wouldn't hang around. They just wouldn't breed that year. But luckily, I think once they started to lay eggs, they seemed to get more aggressive and more willing to defend.
Exactly. That's what they'll do, and I've seen them do that against jackdaws as well. The problem with jackdaws can be that the jackdaws will bring in sticks, and you can have a female sat inside the box, and it's almost like the jackdaws are deliberately trying to stop the adult from coming out. But if you get close into the season, they can become very aggressive. And I've actually seen not on this webcam, but on another webcam, the response from a female to 2 jackdaws, which wasn't very pleasant. Yeah. We're not at 9 o'clock yet, are we? No, we're not. I can't even talk about it. No. We'll have many younger people here actually watching. But basically, it was barn owl 1, jackdaw nil.
We have a question here. Are tawny owls usually ringed?
Ringed?
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Yeah, and the picture we showed earlier of me, or haven't we got to that one yet?
I don't think we've got to that one.
We haven't got to that one yet. So there's a picture of me actually holding a young tawny owl, just to emphasise the fact that the tawny owls weren't exempt from the weather this year. And yes, we do ring the tawny owls, and we ring barn owls, tawny owls, kestrels. My colleagues who are monitoring the peregrines will be also ringing the peregrines. So yes, and we have a number of licensed ringers within the Hawk and Owl Trust who carry out that work.
Fantastic. And Ben says, to answer your question,
Is it my friend Ben?
Yep. He says, according to Google, 40%. This was about the food inflation.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. And if that's the Ben I think it might be, Ben, thank you for the answer. And a big shout out to you. I know you're a great supporter of the Hawk and Owl Trust and obviously of the World Wildlife Community Group. And Ben, I know you're in Southmead Hospital at the moment, and we're wishing you all a very speedy recovery. Merry Christmas to you, and obviously keep in contact, Ben, please. Keep in contact. Onwards and upwards.
Yes, back to our images. So,
and there we are.
Yes.
That's the very picture. Yes, that's the very picture. That's yours truly with a young tawny owlet. Now, this tawny owlet was particularly interesting because this is a story which I've mentioned on this webcam before, whereby there's another nest close by, and actually this pair, where there's a camera in the box, have not bred or not been successful in the last 5 years. Something's always stopped them, and I've had my suspicions that it's the other pair who have always been successful. Now, this year, the other pair never bred.
right,
This year,
they did.
this pair had one youngster. So they did it.
Yeah.
They finally did it. And so the productivity of tawny owls in this particular area was right down. And it doesn't appear, I've done surveys here this autumn, and it doesn't appear to have dented the population.
Fantastic.
So I think the longer lived a species can be, the more it can say, okay, do you know what? I'm not going to breed this year. I don't really need to. So they can have a year off.
Speaking of rings, PL7028 asks, are there any rules for ringing owls? I saw a barn owl with 2 rings.
2 rings. Right. Well, that could be a special project, and those will be authorised by the British Trust for Ornithology. So that could be the fact that a barn owl has got one aluminium ring on one side, and those are the rings that we put on. And on the other side, there could have been a colour ring. And that will be a special project where people are, and we tried to get that here.
We did.
We did try a colour ring project here. Sadly, and I will shout out, we were refused. Okay, onwards and upwards. And basically, this is part of what's going to come up in another part of the show. But this is our emphasis now on not just putting up boxes, but also talking, going back to basics. Let's get more margins out there. We need more margins. And this is a farmer who doesn't get any grants, and he's just left an edge along his fields after the cut. And this will get some aftermath grazing, but not a great deal of aftermath grazing on again. And again, you're looking at the more extent of that. You can see where you are here. For those of you that are local, you're on top of Mendip. The central part of the field there is used for silage, and the edge has been left for some time. And this was a picture taken this year. And again, once again, to reinforce what I've been saying, I did a very quick vole survey here, quick sample survey, and the voles were pretty good here compared to the surrounding area, again, because the grassland have been left for a period of time. Go. And to finish off this section, yes, it is true, I was on Countryfile, and so were the great people of Shatwick Moor, the Hawk and Owl Trust Shatwick Moor Nature Reserve, which was heavily featured. I wanted to do some in-depth on margins, wanted to talk more in-depth about margins on there. And in fact, that the morning of this recording, I was actually in Dorset talking to Dorset farmers, had a great morning with Dorset farmers, reinforcing the importance of short-tailed vole populations for birds of prey and owls and other predators and other wildlife as well. And coming away from that with a spring in my tail, We actually, I managed to get, I think it was about 2.5 minutes. Most of what I was saying on margins ended up on the cutting floor. However, it's all good. It's all good. I managed to get in a bit about margins in any case. So, Countryfile, if you're out there listening, please come back. Let's do it again. And we've got some stories to tell about margins.
Yes. PL27028 asks, is the population of barn owls and tawny owls currently increasing?
I would say they're probably more stable than increasing. The tawny owl is now recognised as amber listed, which is, so say, 25% decline. In the areas which I study intently, then we have seen some decline, but in other areas, I would say it's stable. And there's a particular area I do know in Dartmoor where I'd say it's actually increased.
Brilliant.
And we've got what I would refer to as population pressure there. And that manifests itself in a lot of diurnal calling and fighting.
Okay.
And that's happened during this autumn, believe it or not. So,
and another question we have from Carl Leary. Carl Leary. Are barn owls pairing up early this year? It looks like it.
Yes, it does look like it. They are, and so are tawnies as well. So it was out last Friday evening, and we were definitely hearing pre-breeding activity taking place with all the calls. Even though it's dark, you can once you get into the calling of them, particularly tawnies, you get to understand what they're up to and what they're doing. And we were definitely listening to a male passing food to a female, and we're still not at the threshold, are we? No, we're still not at 9 o'clock. Well, anyway, you can guess what the next bit was. Yeah. Okay.
Next.
And some breaking news. Some breaking news that came through in the week. The snowy owl. Now, we've all heard about, I'm sure everybody out there has heard about the slender-billed curlew becoming globally extinct. It was a European species. And it was one of those waders which actually spends part of its time around the Mediterranean, then goes back north to breed. It's now globally extinct. A European species has gone extinct.
Crazy.
And the repercussions are global. And now we heard news midweek that the snowy owl was in trouble in one particular country. And I got straight on the phone to a really good friend of mine, somebody who I met way back in 2013. His name is actually Professor Dr. Tom Arnbaum, and he is now retired from World Wildlife Fund in Sweden, but he still does an awful lot of work for them, I can tell you that. And if you ever get to meet Tom, if you're in Sweden, you ever get to meet Tom, he obviously likes to be just called Tom. He's a great guy. He's incredibly knowledgeable about all things wildlife. And of course, one of his big things is climate change. And so it's fair to call him not just a wildlife scientist, he's also very much a climate scientist as well. And I managed to persuade Tom to give me an interview for this show tonight. And in fact, his interview was such good quality and lasted such a long time that Mark and I have actually broke it down into 3 parts. So what you're now going to have is part 1 of that interview with Tom Arnbaum as a pre-record this week from Sweden.
Now, Sweden, of course, is a place which I've always said is the wildlife paradise. And especially since you first introduced me to Sweden, I've known it as the owl paradise as well. And now we receive news this week from BirdLife International, from BirdLife Europe and Asia, that the snowy owl has become extinct in Sweden. What's going on?
Yeah, it's so sad, I would say. It's last time we had snowy owls breeding in Sweden, it's more than 10 years ago. And we have There were some a few years ago visiting Sweden in the spring, but they disappeared. They probably checked out if there was something to eat, and it wasn't, so they just took off again.
So-
It is sad because for 50 years ago, I'm one of the few in Sweden who saw 22 adult snow owls at the same time breeding. And that was a fantastic lemming year, 1974. So we had lemming years, 74, 78, 82, then it disappeared for 20 years. Then it came back again, lemming years. And in 2015 was the last time we had it.
Wow. So basically what's going on then, this is a big food issue, and the lemmings are just not they're not going through their normal cycles anymore. What's causing that?
Yeah, we think it's the climate change. Not only, it's probably other things also happening which we don't know. But climate change is definitely one of the problems. In Sweden, the winter temperature has increased with 3 degrees since 1960s. And also we have winter rains, which we never had before. When it rains in the winter, it rains on top of the snow, it goes down through the snow, down on the ground and freezes. So it causes like an ice panzer on the bottom, underneath the snow where the lemmings live during the winter. And they can't reach the food, so they starve to death. Not only lemmings, it's also, and we have at least 5-6 other species of voles live in the same area, and they normally peak at the same time as lemmings.
Yes.
So these peaks has not totally disappeared, but has decreased dramatically.
So effectively, if we were to look at the graph in the 60s, the peak would have been up here. So then you've had a decline, a normal decline. Then the next peak is lower, and then down, and then the next peak is lower, and the next peak is lower. And that's what's been happening.
No, not really, because we had some good peaks. It must be 66, 68, then 70 we had a really good peak, enormous, and lots of lemmings. 74 was good, 78 a little less, 82 less, then it disappeared. Then it came back in year 2000 again, suddenly. So we had a few, and there has been a few breeding snowy owls until 2015. And we had some breeding, and most of them failed totally. Yeah. But also when we had snowy owls, we had a big problem with nature photographers. So we had to keep most nests secret, except one, which we released. So we concentrated all people to that nest. And that was a nest quite far away from any kind of road. So you had to either walk several days or fly with a helicopter in. And the nest was just beside a house where the people living in. So they could keep track of it high up in the mountains. But I know several nests which we never told anybody about it, except a handful of us.
Hi, we're back again live. And sorry, I was just finishing off listening to Tom's part 1. And fascinating stuff there from Sweden. And you'll be able to listen to part 2 in a moment. There's 3 parts to that. But now I want to move swiftly on to what will conclude this next brief introduction into another interview. And in the past, we've focused quite a lot on dipping in and out of our 2 nature reserves. The one that we have here in the Somerset Levels, our Shatwick Moor Nature Reserve, Hawk and Owl Trust Shatwick Moor Nature Reserve, and we've done interviews from there before. But this time we thought what we'd really like to do is a little bit more focus on Sculthorpe. And I was very pleased at the fact that David Ward, ranger, full-time ranger at Sculthorpe Moor, actually decided to put his hand up and say, yes, I'll be interviewed. And so at the beginning of this week, I contacted David and we did another pre-record. And this is now David's interview to me, beginning of the week, all about Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve.
Hi, Chris. So I'm the senior ranger here alongside Jake, who's currently out on a reed bed doing some work at the moment. So I'm in the dry. So yeah, I'm in charge of doing all the habitat management here at Sculthorpe as well, monitoring the owls and the hawks as well. So yeah, a very varied job role.
What's been happening this year?
A lot. So yeah, we've had a very busy year this year. We started off the year replacing quite a lot of sections of our boardwalks. A lot of the boardwalks on the reserve now are getting on to be 20 years old, so they're starting to suffer a little bit. So we had a lot of time, probably start of the year, once we got some dry weather, replacing large sections of boardwalk, and then moving on, going into the summer. Obviously, our habitat management starts.
It's been quite a while since I've actually been to Sculthorpe. I think I'm actually due to come and see you guys in February, and I am much looking forward to that. Now, every time I go to Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve, there's always something new to see. And obviously, you've got the beavers. Bring us up to date on what the beavers are doing.
So yeah, the beavers have had they've been beavering away, so to speak. They've been doing lots of great work inside the beaver enclosure. This year they successfully had 2 kits, so we know that we've got 7 beavers in the enclosure in total.
Hang on, stop there. 7.
7.
Sit back on.
And welcome back. And yeah, so we had a nice look there at what was going on in Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve. And if we actually move on to, we should have another picture coming up, and we should be able to go swiftly into our next interview. Oh no, let's do some community stuff. Now, I'm very proud to be able to push this tonight. This is a book written by 2 very good friends of mine, and this is from YACWAG. They call themselves the Yatton and Kongsbury Wildlife Action Group, and this is Tony and Faith Moulin, and they run that group, and the Hawk and Owl Trust have worked together with YACWAG for many years. And they've just produced this wonderful book, which actually goes right back to the beginning. So basically, Mark, in essence, the way this all started was there was a piece of land which was threatened with development. And what they did was gather local people together and bought the land.
Brilliant.
And they ended up with Nature Reserve number 1. And then they moved on to Nature Reserve number 2. And this is all local people basically taking ownership. And a wonderful work taking place. And if you're out there at the moment and you feel a little bit threatened by development or whatever, and you want to actually do something locally, what this book tells you is how to do it, in essence. And some of the pitfalls which obviously besieged them at the beginning. But what they end up now is being a very credible wildlife organisation and charity in their own right. So I recommend this as you go out and buy if you're interested in community wildlife. On again.
Did you want to do Adrian's statement? That was meant to be before this piece.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. So, yes, we've actually got a statement from the Hawk and Owl Trust on the beaver situation at Sculthorpe Moor, and so I will read that out now. Since 2022, the Hawk and Owl Trust Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve has been home to a thriving colony of beavers. These were introduced under licence from Natural England as part of our conservation activities. To support their well-being, the beavers are humanely trapped each year for health inspection, and microchips are used to track each animal. The beavers at Sculthorpe Moor live within a secure enclosure to prevent them from wild roaming. Based on checks conducted by our rangers, there is nothing to suggest the beavers at Pensthorpe or other areas originated from our colony. However, we have offered assistance to Natural England should they decide that the animal should be trapped and placed within a licensed enclosure. So there's a big difference here, and we know all about this on the Somerset levels. There's a big difference here between what's going on at Sculthorpe Moor and, for example, here on the Somerset levels, where beavers are miraculously turning up. And that is that what's going on at Sculthorpe Moor is a full scientific project looking at the beaver impact into land situations. And I think I can remember going to Sculthorpe Moor years ago and looking at the superb wet woodland that they've got there. Really rare habitat, wet woodland. And I can remember saying to staff at the time, you really could do with some beavers here to help manage this. And that's exactly what they've done. And the reason why the area is fenced off so that the beavers can occupy this huge area within Sculthorpe Moor is that they can be studied within those areas and not impact the surrounding land if there is an impact. So once that work's been finished, full reports will be produced, which will show how beavers have managed and looked after that landscape, which I'm sure they will. I've seen many of these scientific projects in the past, and they always conclude faithfully that beavers are an important part of our landscape. Here on the Somerset levels, we find something different. So if you go to our Shatwick Moor Nature Reserve, you will find occasionally evidence that trees have been gnawed there. And there's no enclosure there. There's no scientific work taking place looking at the impact. It's completely different. And so one of the reasons against these beavers suddenly turning up would be impact on surrounding farmland, because there's been no consultation. It's as simple as that. And so we have to be careful, I think, when we release anything or do any work, that we obviously have the dialogue beforehand and the science to back up what we're doing. Onwards.
So we next on the schedule have part 2 of Tom's interview. Did you want to take a short break?
No. Let's go on. We'll do part 2 of Tom's interview from Sweden.
Okay, so going on with part 2.
What the audience doesn't know is that I know some of the brilliant work that you've been doing up there, and so there's the snowy owl. There's that bird which is fully adapted for that tundra-like environment of northern Sweden. So I'm bound to ask you, is the same thing happening with another bird of prey, the gyrfalcon, which is also adapted for that environment?
Yes, the gyrfalcon has been decreasing since 1990s. Before, a big threat was egg collection, but not anymore. There is still some egg collection going on, but not that much. And we don't really know what it is. We have been thinking it was the hunting of grouse, which the gyrfalcon eat, willow grouse. But we have seen in some areas there are lots of grouse still there, but the gyrfalcon is still decreasing. So we don't really know. I know in Iceland, the gyrfalcons have got the bird flu, and loads of them have died there. In Sweden, we haven't really seen that, but we know peregrine falcons in Sweden die of the bird flu. But we also think it's the climate change, because they start breeding in February, March, the gyrfalcon, where you have a normal stable cold but snow. But then when the chicks are quite small in April, early May, then we have winter rains and really bad storms, and looks like some of the exposed nests they failed because probably the chicks were freezing instead of snow, which is isolating. We have rains, but we can't show it. We don't know really what's happening, but I think we lost about 60% of the gyrfalcon since 1990 in Sweden. In Norway, they're doing well because they feed on bird mountains.
Yes.
Unique, really Arctic species are decreasing, and we're losing the lemmings too. But I would say we are losing some other owls too in Sweden now. And it's going rapid, and it's even down in the forest, not up in the.
So blue.
One thing, yeah, it is, and what I just found out that they were living on a vole which was quite big, but that one has decreased with 90%. Then there's another species of vole has increased, which is half the size.
Yes.
So it looks like the owls are feeding on something else, but they get much less food per vole they catch.
So yeah,
But
so
also it's a forestry with 100%.
they're hunting more often then, aren't they? They're burning off more energy if they're not catching the bigger food item.
Yeah, and they also stressed by the forestry because we are cutting down lots of the old growth forest. I mean, if you look in Sweden, we only have 5% left of the old virgin forest. The rest is forested, more or less.
Oh, and the timber trade is a very important.
Yeah, timber, paper, but also for burning for heating now.
Yeah.
And because of the problems with Russia, they need more forest from Sweden, and the forest industry is very good lobbyist. They got the government with them, so they're going too hard for the forest. I mean, they're destroying our woods just now, forests in Sweden.
Ah, who spotted the technical error?
Wasn't me. Go.
Well, this is the first time we've tried inserting and giving you a bit more of a show, so to speak, as opposed to just a look around the webcams and a general me never stopping talking. There's been an error. And what we're going to do now is we realised that for some reason David's interview from Sculthorpe actually cut off, and we're going to run it again, and hope you enjoy it. But here's David Ward.
What the audience doesn't know.
Hi, Chris. So I'm the senior ranger here alongside Jake, who's currently out on a reed bed doing some work at the moment. So I'm in the dry. So yeah, I'm in charge of doing all the habitat management here at Sculthorpe as well, monitoring the owls and the hawks as well. So yeah, a very varied job role.
What's been happening this year?
A lot. So yeah, we've had a very busy year this year. We started off the year replacing quite a lot of sections of our boardwalks. A lot of the boardwalks on the reserve now are getting on to be 20 years old, so they're starting to suffer a little bit. So we had a lot of time, probably start of the year, once we got some dry weather, replacing large sections of boardwalk. And then moving on, going into the summer, obviously our habitat management starts.
It's been quite a while since I've actually been to Sculthorpe. I think I'm actually due to come and see you guys in February, and I am much looking forward to that. Now, every time I go to Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve, there's always something new to see. And obviously, you've got the beavers. Bring us up to date on what the beavers are doing.
So yeah, the beavers have they've been beavering away, so to speak. They've been doing lots of great work inside the beaver enclosure. This year, they successfully had 2 kits. So we know that we've got 7 beavers in the enclosure in total.
Hang on. Not there. 7.
7.
7. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So they've been very busy. They've been making some lovely dams within the woods. Their lodge is very big now as well, which is quite a sight actually. If you're not used to seeing them, I think people sort of underestimate just how large these beaver lodges are.
Yes.
And they've got a number of them around the wood. But in terms of how they've been managing the habitat, where they've been putting in dams, there's been holding water back. So obviously we've had quite a dry summer this year.
Yep.
So inside the beaver enclosure it remained lush, green and wet, which was perfect habitat for a lot of species here at Sculthorpe.
And so they were doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Good, great keystone species.
Absolutely.
And actually keeping it all. I mean, I would say we could do with them here in places, but actually we've already got them.
Yes. Yeah.
Turning up miraculously, shall I say?
They are. It's like we're getting beaver bombed at the moment, so to speak. Yeah, I think there's just been a report put out that there might have been a sighting on the Little Ooze as well.
Wow.
Which is quite exciting. So how it got there, we don't know. But yeah.
And we're going to be showing. I'm going to be showing some clips, hopefully, from your Tawny Owl cam. I noticed they're back in again.
They are. We had a bit of drama within the Tawny Owl box that's live streamed. We had a new pair come in actually in the territory, and the pair that were already in there, they're quite an old pair. We believe the female is about 10 years old, looking at the ring number on it. and we had a new female come in and actually chase the female off the nest. She was sitting on eggs, which we were a bit worried that it wasn't going to return, but she did come back the next morning. But then they got invaded again, and she completely abandoned the eggs. And from what we could work out, the eggs were only about 3 days from hatching.
Yep.
From the so it was, we were very upset about it, and obviously everyone that follows the cameras would have, it's a bit sad really. But luckily, obviously the other pair that is living in the wood, we walked past a box that's only about 15 meters from the boardwalk edge, and we saw 2 owlets sitting in the box.
Wow.
Just on the edge, which was really great news. Obviously not good for the our original pair, but it's nice to know that there's another successful breeding pair in there. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in this sort of coming season.
And good success on such a dry year. But again,
absolutely,
doesn't that link us back to the beavers quite nicely?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, absolutely. As I say, you walk around other places and it was really, really dry, whereas in the wood it remained fairly wet. It was lush. It was green. Really, really good habitat, and that's obviously shown in the mammal population that we've got here at Sculthorpe. Whereas they probably struggled, if I'm right in saying that they probably struggled early on in the spring when things weren't growing up, so they didn't have the cover there, so that led to a drop in the mammal success rate, and I think that sort of bucked the trend. But so far, so good.
Brilliant. Okay. Now, obviously, you do an awful lot of events up to the Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve. What have you got coming up? Anything you want to advertise? This is your opportunity before we finish.
What have we got coming up? Well, we've just now released the new activities and guided walk booklet. So we'll be doing plenty of guided walks throughout the year. The beaver walks, again, the beaver guided walks were a huge success this year. And we hope for the same next year. They sold out incredibly quickly.
I'm not surprised.
We were also doing some private tours. It was like a Taylor Swift concert, Chris. They were sold out in about 10 minutes. It was amazing. But everyone had a great time, and probably 90% of the walks we did, we were successful in seeing the beavers as well. We also offered some private tours as well for sort of couples or families who just wanted that more intimate one-on-one walk round, which also went down really well. What else was there? We had wildflower walks, which we've got booked in again with a great naturalist called Simon Harrop. He published Wildflowers in the UK, so he's a fountain of knowledge. And going on for that, our more internal walks, we've got glowworm walks, we've got birding for beginners walks. So yeah, there's a lot happening. Brilliant. In terms of events, and obviously school groups. We get regular school groups coming in. And they do their favoured pond dipping. It's always a big hit. Obviously, we do other activities such as bug hunts, building bird boxes, bat boxes, bird feeders. So there's plenty going on.
A lot going on. And all of this will be advertised on the Hawk and Owl Trust website.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So that will be coming out. We'll probably start releasing dates probably from January onwards, so in the new year. So make sure you keep your eyes out.
Brilliant.
And get there quick, because they do seem to be booking out quickly.
Brilliant. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoy the show. I bet you're going to get some new fans ready to come up to have a look at the Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve. I know a lot of people in Somerset, when they go east, you are one of the destinations they're going to.
Yeah, I mean, our barn owls have done really well this year, which was kind of bucking the trend as well for the rest of the country. So, and they were showing really, really well from one of the hides. So people were treated to, obviously, when they started to fledge, they gave the visitors some really good views. So yeah, come down in May. It's brilliant.
Okay. Thank you very much, David.
See you later, Chris. Bye.
That was David Ward there at Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve, and that was the full interview as opposed to what we showed earlier. And as David was saying there, and the emphasis on the fact that the beaver management which takes place there having a dramatic effect, obviously, on the reserve, but also saving, if you like, a season for small mammals and for the birds of prey and owls that were there, and no doubt the rest of the biodiversity that lives at Sculthorpe Moor. And Sculthorpe Moor is, I'm going to emphasise again, if you get the chance to go, for goodness sake, go. It's a great spot for wildlife. I'm due up in February, and I am immensely looking forward to it. Every time I go up, there's always something new to look at. And there was an emphasis there that we placed on looking at the Hawk and Owl Trust website for the dates that take place on the dates of events at Sculthorpe Moor. And don't forget Shatwick Moor Nature Reserve as well. Those dates will be up on our website. And of course, so will our Adopt a Box scheme. So once again, if you are looking for that last minute Christmas present, please consider taking out an Adopt a Box. And the money that we raise through the Adopt a Box scheme helps us with continuing our conservation work actually in the field. And the other thing at this time of the year, for all of those who are birding at the moment, we also have relaunched. If you look along the top there, along the top bar of our website, you will actually see long-eared owl right at the end. And now is the time of year to have a look and see if you've got any wintering long-eared owls. You'll find an explanation video there, a guide to how to do it. And the emphasis there is trying to record if long-eared owls are still wintering. I had a great discussion with Tom and some of his colleagues in Sweden about this, and they were emphasising the fact that even though the numbers of long-eared owls overwintering in the UK has dropped dramatically, it's not necessarily that the population in Scandinavia has dropped. It's just that they don't really have that need to travel so far. But we need the information. If you are a birder or you're out walking regularly with your dog, just on your local walk, and you suddenly notice a group of long-eared owls, as the picture there in the frame, roosting in the bush, don't disturb them. Please don't disturb them. You can actually walk by them, and all they'll do is turn their heads as you go by. It's only when you stop and actually go right up to them that they will fly at the very last minute. They've probably chosen that roost site because it's safe. So please don't disturb them from that, but just record them. Just jot down on your phone as you're passing by. And if you use this part of the website, you can actually fill in a form here where you've seen them, time you've seen them, and obviously the best time to find them is during the daytime. Don't bother going at night because they'll be off hunting somewhere, and your chances of finding them will be very remote indeed. Right, we're going to crack on with the show. Hope you're enjoying it so far. Have we got any questions?
We have one question from KSS 987. Says, why haven't Ireland introduced the tawny owl? I know they don't like flying over water, but would they be able to live over there?
Great question. Well, I think it was attempted before. I have a memory or a light bulb going on in my head right at this moment. And I think it was attempted and it failed dramatically. And that's probably due to the fact that if you take time back when we were landlocked with Europe, there was obviously still a separation in water with Ireland. And so tawny owls and some small mammals at least got to England, Wales and Scotland, but the diversity of small mammals didn't make it to Ireland. So I think they would have problems there. And I believe I'm right in saying I can remember many correspondents talking about long-eared owls in Ireland. And they were saying that the majority of their prey at that particular time, I'm probably talking now 30 years ago, was actually small birds they were taking rather than small mammals. So I mean, it wouldn't be a good idea in any case. And tawny owls clearly were not meant to be there, but if their food's not there, and it's rather interesting if we compare tawny owls here to continental Europe. We always say that there's always two in the brood, which is quite normal for the UK. But I only have to start talking to people in France, in Sweden, in Norway, or Holland, and they start saying it's 4 to 6 can be the average. And that's because the diversity of small mammals there, as you've heard Tom already talking about in his interview, is much higher. And so that's individual species of small mammals higher than it is here, because of course they never made it across by the time the North Sea and the English Channel was formed after the Ice Age. Any more questions?
PL7028 asks what people should do to help owls in their daily lives.
Ah, that's a great one. Well, you can help even in your garden. If you've got a garden, you can actually think about having part of your garden as a rough area. You can incorporate the more formal garden with more rough, rewilded landscape, and that will help the owls because, of course, that will help the small mammals, in particular things like in an urban situation, things like bank voles, short-tailed voles, and wood mice will be helped there. And in an urban situation, it's quite possible that you will get tawny owls operating across those areas. Certainly where I live, I'm on the outskirts of the town of Portishead, and we get tawny owls in the garden. We've even had barn owls in the garden, believe it or not.
Fantastic.
And that probably gives you the state of my garden most of the time. And probably why I'm receiving letters from my district council about the state of my garden. Oh, I shouldn't really talk about that. So, yes, it is possible to do little things to help. I think the other thing that if you haven't got a garden, if you live in a city, think about approaching your city council about the way they manage their parks. City parks can be very, very important for, again, tawny owls, kestrels, sparrowhawks, buzzards, kites. Not just, it's easy to often just say tawny owls, yes, parks, city parks, you can help them. But there's a whole host of other species. And I even know that one barn owl offspring that we rung at the Shapwick Moor, Hawk and Owl Trust Shapwick Moor Nature Reserve, actually turned up nearly 12 years later in a mist net of a bird ringing organisation in a London park. So it's possible that barn owls will operate in those areas as well. And in fact, on Monday, I was in one of Bristol City's parks, going to an event for Christmas, and just running alongside of that event, which was incredibly illuminated. And I actually had a thought running through my mind. I wonder how this is affecting nocturnal species. And within an hour of walking around this place, I could see at the edge there was a barn owl hunting.
Fantastic.
It was just incredible.
Yeah.
There must have been about 20,000 people walking around this place. And there was a barn owl hunting along the edge. So it is possible, even if you live in a city, go and have a word with your city parks department. Talk to councillors. In particular, do talk to councillors. They are wonderful people. A lot of them give up their free time to do what they're doing. Engage with them. And those are things that you can do to help owls. Engage with not just the councillors, but engage with your local farmers. Have a chat. Everything's friendly, and let's all work together to turn it around, not just but for owls, but also for the rest of biodiversity as well. Don't forget, we in the Hawk and Owl Trust have to be the most perfect conservationists, because the birds of prey and owls are the last things to come when the rest of nature has sorted itself out. So we are, to coin a phrase from our good friend David Ward there up in Sculthorpe Nature Reserve, to coin his phrase, we are beavering away with the rest of wildlife to get that sorted out so that these birds can exist on the top of it.
Fantastic. Forget urban foxes, urban barn owls.
And don't forget urban foxes. They're important for rat control.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just going to check whether we had. We've got this piece next.
No, we haven't. We're at churches next.
Oh, are we churches
Tawny owls
next?
in
I
churches.
do apologise.
Tawny owls in churches.
Okay.
So it's the first time
This is
we've
St.
run a show
Nicholas
like
Church in
this.
Portishead,
So this is
and
Tawny
it
Owl
has
Churches,
got,
and
apart from the church
this is
being an amazing
introducing the
feature, look at
Reverend
this.
Lindsay Smith.
It's got a beautiful woodland, absolutely gorgeous. Mixed trees, lovely understory, classic woodland especially if you're an owl. And with me this morning is...
I'm Reverend Lindsay, and I'm a curate here in the parish of Portishead.
Lindsay, why don't you give us a little bit of a background on what we, as in the church and the Hawk and Owl Trust, are trying to do here?
We're trying to work together to create areas where owls can thrive. And this place is already thriving, so it's not difficult to actually come up here, think about how we can make this better. So
We know there are tawny owls
we
here, don't we?
do, and that's the most amazing thing. Coming out of church in the winter and hearing the tawny owls, it's just the most amazing thing. I often come home really late and everyone goes, "That was a long service." I go, "No, I've been sat on the bench listening to the owls." It's just the most amazing place, and such a gift that it's so unspoilt. So
Well, when we're talking about a species like the tawny owl, we're talking about a bird which has declined in this country so much that it's now been given amber listing on the Birds of Conservation Concern list. So that's a 25% decline since you or I were much younger. But that's a significant and serious decline. So places like this, and we have to pinch ourselves, don't we, Lindsay? Because we are in Portishead. We're in a town. And yet, I spin around. Look at this. What an amazing resource this actually is. So we know there are tawny owls here, and we know the trees are of a sufficient age. And of course, a lot of them won't have natural holes in, will they?
no, so we've put up a box. The most obvious thing to do to try and help them, somewhere for them to nest, and yeah, we put up a box. And there's also lovely other habitats around. There's a woodland up behind us, and so there's lots of places hopefully for them to flourish and fly on from here.
And this is the epitome of, we are surrounded by people. There are people living right around this church. And this is the absolute epitome of having nature and people close together. This is an oasis, but as you rightly say, it does join with a ribbon of woodland, which runs along the top of Portishead. Okay, Lindsay, I know that we've already put up a box here with permission, haven't we?
We have. So can we go and have a look at it?
Yes,
I'm
let's
so
go and have a
excited.
look. So here we are, Lindsay, deep in the woodland, and you've taken us to the tree where we have previously erected a tawny owl box. So let's have a quick look at it. There it is there, up against the tree, facing the right direction, away from that sometimes quite severe southwesterly wind coming off the estuary.
So why do we put it so the wind doesn't come into the box?
Well, basically because the rain, which is our prevailing wet wind, will actually drive the rain straight into the box. So it's facing in completely the opposite direction. It's actually, this one's actually facing, you can feel the cold wind coming in, that autumnal wind. That's coming in from the east at the moment, and that's the exact direction that the box is facing.
It might be nice for people to know that the sea is actually just over there, isn't it? We are
Yep.
really, really coastal. It's
Yep.
only a few minutes walk
Definitely.
to the coast, so we are very, very coastal.
Definitely.
Although it doesn't feel like that here.
So, Lindsay, we've got the box here in the church woodland. What is there any way we can spread? This is like dropping a seed. We've dropped the seed in the wood, and we know that this box has a very good chance of being occupied in 2026. So we will be here to monitor that as a part of our normal program. Is there any way we can spread this seed around?
I think the dream for us as an eco-church, we're an eco-church, so we are looking at different ways that we can help the environment through boxes, through how we preach, through our lifestyles. There's a whole blanket of how can we change the way we live. And there are churches up and down the country in the diocese who are also doing the same. And putting up a box, it didn't take us long to put the box up, it was easy, but we did have the habitat. We are gifted with this beautiful woodland. So I'm encouraging other churches to get in touch with myself or Chris to think about the habitat they've got, to think about the trees, and if they don't have that habitat, that's good enough for a tawny owl or a box. Think about how you can create that habitat. Where could we plant a little copse? Although you're not going to put an owl box up maybe this year, next year, future generations. Think of the owls in 10, 15, 20, 50 years time who will have a place to thrive. We see so much loss of habitat and so much loss of woodland.
Maybe we could have a churchyard's tawny owl box project.
A tawny
I mean,
owl
I
box
mean,
project.
churches
Yes.
and tawny owls are very much associated, aren't they?
Absolutely, and we do have lots of lovely churchyards and lots of lovely trees. So just get in touch, speak to myself or Chris, and we can see how we can put up these beautiful boxes. And Chris said he's going to monitor it, so he's going to tell us the rest of the story, in which we can carry on sharing. Don't forget to plant the trees as well. Think of the future generations. Keep planting, keep growing, keep doing God's work.
Great words there from the Reverend Lindsay Smith, and the box that you saw there was actually a part of our Adopt a Box scheme, and so it leaves me to emphasize once again, please support our work by adopting a box, becoming a member of the Hawk and Owl Trust. It's a great way that we can do the work like we've done there at the church, and obviously we are in discussions, and hopefully during the spring when we do another live, we might be several runs down the road, so to speak, of a really good integrated Hawk and Owl Trust church project. Conversations are ongoing, Mark.
Huzzah!
Reverend Lindsay Smith is certainly fronting that up and helping with those negotiations. So a great project, a really, really good project there. Only leaves me now to go to, I think we are now at the farm clusters.
Yes.
So this is the farm cluster groups. Now, how this got started was very funny. And how this idea all came about was very funny, to say the least. So I went to one farm and basically got told, so pleased with my visit, good reviews. Always nice to get good reviews. Come and meet this farmer down the road. So I went to meet the farmer down the road, and that farmer was very pleased with the visit and said, oh, come and meet the other farmer who's that way. He lives a few doors that way. And I said, whoa, hold the bus. I've got a full day of visits to do. And so I said, why don't we try and get, if there's so much interest here, why don't we get all these farmers together, put them under one roof, have a talk with all the farmers, on all the landowners, not just farmers, but other landowners as well. And let's create a almost owl bird of prey farm cluster group and see what happens. So we did. And this lovely lady here, Rosie, who's actually a dairy farmer, she got everything organized, and I went down and did a talk. And I spoke to, must have been about 40 people there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very well attended.
Good turnout.
And since then, we've actually now been doing visits. So if you go to the next slide. And one of the emphasis on this particular area where we're working is the little owl. So there's still remnant populations of little owls around. And what we're trying to do with this farm cluster group is not emphasize them above the other species which are there, but just to realize the fact that the little owl used to be incredibly well spread out across this area of Somerset. It's not. They're now only in a couple of isolated areas. So what we're going to be doing is targeting those areas with boxes and targeting those areas with sympathetic management for little owls, and trying to reinforce or recreate those cluster of pairs which used to occur there, and have an almost corridor of boxes going from one farm to the next farm to try and get them to spread. And obviously we'll be watching those. And the other species are there as well. We're also going to be looking at kestrel boxes. We're also going to be looking for tawny owl boxes, and of course barn owl boxes there as well. Next one. So this is us out. It's myself and Joel. Joel is there I'm taking the picture, but this is one of the big landowners that we went to see. It's got around about, I'm going to stand be corrected here, but I think it's 8,000 acres. Anyway, he's already got these margins, and some of the margins there were basically managed quite intensively for different reasons. And so what we're emphasizing here is, you can see that I believe that's Joel looking for voles in there, and what we're actually looking for is looking at the areas of margins that are currently good for voles, and basically under the scenario of if it ain't break, don't fix it. And then looking at areas where the voles are more fragmented, and if it's a designated margin, then bringing that back into much more usage for the voles itself, particularly on a year like we've just had. This is fairly low-lying land which rises towards the end, and it's backed up by some superb hedgerows and, of course, well-maintained central parts of fields and some really big fields as well. And so this is type of work whereby we're looking at this one farm, and this one farm connects to another farm, which connects to another farm. If you put up the next picture, we should have a view right across the area. So the extent that you can see there is basically almost the entire area that the cluster is operating over. And so you can see some of those hedges, the interconnected hedges, and that wonderful almost English parkland effect from the mature trees there. So good in the past for little owls, and unfortunately now a very much fragmented population, and indeed kestrels as well. So that's the idea of the cluster groups, is we've got all the farmers basically working together, and us as a central element to that. And the lady who was Rosie, who was actually from the dairy farm, massive dairy farm, she's been absolutely amazing, been incredible at helping us make contact with the people, coming out with us to meet the people, to do all the early introductions, and it's just such a friendly environment. You hear lots of things about the farming environment, but every landowner here has been welcoming us with open arms. It's been absolutely incredible. Next one. And this was a farmer that we visited as a part of the cluster group. And this is something which, it was still before 9 o'clock, but this is an important message to get out. And this was his message, so a farmer's message to other farmers. This is a little owl which got caught up in some of the baling netting. So you can see those rolls of silage there in the background, and you can see that they're actually laid on their side. And what he emphasized to me, this is not my emphasis, this is him telling me to tell other farmers, and so we're going to use the program tonight to actually do that, is that when those bales are on their side, not standing up as they are, as you can see in the photograph, so when they're on their side and left in the field, unfortunately birds can get themselves tangled up in them. They don't when they're on their side. And this was the result, this one little owl getting caught up. So this message is from a farmer to other farmers. Onwards and upwards. And here you can see Conservation Assistant Joel Cox here with some of the other landowners. And Rosie's actually there on the extreme right of that. And I think that's wonderful, isn't it? Because you've got a nice margin there, which has been created on this private farmland. And you can see that that margin runs straight down that field, past where the people are, and right down the other hedgerow. And all we're going to do is emphasize here the complete connectivity of this farm. So wherever the margins don't occur, we'll get them in place and get them emphasized. And you can see the rainbow in the background is calling us. It's saying at the root of the rainbow is a crop of voles.
Brilliant.
I couldn't think of anything else to say at that point. Okay, is that it?
We're back to the snowy.
And we're back to our concluding part of the interview with Tom Onbom. I hope you've enjoyed the interview with Tom. He's an amazing guy from Sweden, amazing scientist from Sweden. Done an awful lot of work on wildlife throughout the planet, not just in Sweden. And as I said, he's retired from WWF Sweden, but obviously still does an awful lot of work. And one of the things he did say to me, he's actually invited me, he's doing a lot of work, and I think this comes out in this interview, in this part of the interview, where he's doing an awful lot of work up in Lapland with the Sami people. and he has actually invited me next spring to go with him up to Lapland to have a look at areas where not even the Sami are, and where no one has gone before. So it's a little bit of Star Trek going on there, I think. But I'm looking forward to going there. I haven't actually seen Tom now for a number of years, so I'm looking forward to the spring and early summer going up to the Arctic Circle and having a look at some of his work that he's doing up there. And when I do go, folks, I will take my phone with me, and I promise you all I will do some Facebook Lives for the Hawk and Owl Trust Facebook page on some of the important international work that's taking place up in Lapland. Over to Tom.
Not sure if I've kept you up to speed this year, but certainly in the UK, what we've seen is a big tumble of the short-tailed vole, Microtus agrestis. And that's been caused by the fact that there was virtually no green growth of the grass during the early spring period because it was too dry. And we had my garden, for example, Tom, we had substantial rain up until February the 17th. The next substantial rain in my garden was the 3rd of September.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. I mean, it's like a desert.
Yeah. So
it's like, I can see it's drying out and there's no food. We have this, not really the same problem, but we have similar ones. And also we have really hot weather to be in Sweden, above 30 degrees for a long time, even in the mountains in July.
Wow.
And that's meant all the snow and glaciers are melting. So we're losing lots of areas. And there's one area I work in Northern Sweden called where I have palsamires. It's mires with wetlands, with white moss, with permafrost.
Yeah.
And when the permafrost goes, the whole landscape goes. And that means enormous amount of birds will in the future suffer a lot because their habitat is just going down the drain, I would say.
There'll be a number of bird watchers who will be watching this, Tom, and I've heard a lot of comment in the UK at the moment about the fact that the redwings and the fieldfares don't appear to be in the numbers here in the winter that they used to be. Now, tell us what's going on, because they're coming from you.
Yeah, I mean, it varies between years. But this year, lots of thrushes has been staying because it hasn't been really cold yet in southern Sweden. And in South Sweden, I don't think they will have meteorological winter this year. It's still warm. And where I live, we normally have ice ice is freezing now on the lakes, but it's not. It's almost 5, 6, 8 degrees in the water. That's really warm to be here. Yeah. And just now I have 8 to 10 degrees. It's like a spring for us, and it's muddy and it's good because the snow is very important for us to get rid of diseases, and also for the trees because the trees get hit by different kind of mushrooms or fungi, which will kill them or stress them. And then you have the heat periods, the trees get stressed. Then you have the warm period, they don't have the cold, and so it's opening up for insects. And opening up for fungi is going to attack our forests.
Yep.
But come back to the thrushes, and many are still in Sweden. And we see it varies between years, but some years we have lots of redwings and fieldfares, and we get lots of redwings and fieldfares from Russia normally. But this year I haven't seen the big flocks of fieldfares, for example.
Really, that's fascinating. Let's leave this interview on a more of an up note, if we can.
Yeah.
Talked a lot of doom and gloom. And within any situation, there are winners and losers. And let's keep to the owls and the birds of prey for this. Are there any winners from this situation that we're going through at the moment?
Yes. So, I mean, I work in the northern Sweden, and we see several new birds of prey breeding up here, which haven't been breeding here before. So they're expanding in some areas. And some of them are, instead of having lemmingears, we have other volears. Not as much, but they live in different kind of habitats, but the birds of prey can move to other areas. And we're getting more and more peregrine falcons breeding on the mires, not on cliffs anymore. And the same with, and like I say, one of the most successful one, we have the red kite, which there were very few in the 1970s. Now they're breeding half Sweden everywhere. The brown kite we have in the northern Sweden coming in and rapidly increasing, and of course the white-tailed eagle. It's a nuisance in some areas. It's you can't say that's a bird, but it is, because they go around and eat eiders, and you have these subadult white-tailed eagles going around in big gangs, destroying colonies of eiders.
What about owls?
Yeah, owls. The only ones doing well is tawny owl. We are losing at least 4 or 5 species going down, and we lost one now, probably totally also gone extinct, except the snowy owl is the barn owl. It's gone now from Sweden, but it's on the border where it lives anyway. But that's gone now.
Yes.
And great gray owl is increasing. It's going south, so that's very positive.
That's fascinating. Now, I would have thought that would have been because I mean they're a vole feeder as well, aren't they?
Yeah, but they're going south and they're increasing in middle of Sweden now. So they're moving south and extending their distribution here.
So do you think they might be exploiting the rise of the more grassland voles that are taking over?
Yes. Yeah, and that's typical because they live in forests, but they hunt very often on meadows, where you find the smaller voles.
Brilliant. Tom, thank you very, very much for joining us on the Hawk and Owl Trust Facebook show. And I know it's been a bit doomy and gloomy, but obviously what we're trying to do is get the messages out there that we need to change the things that we're doing. And that's not just the climate issue, as you've rightly pointed out, it's also a habitat issue.
Yeah, I think climate change is happening, but habitat issue we can do something about. And it's for our point of view in Sweden, it's the modern forestry and modern agriculture. That's the biggest problem. Since the 1950s. So if we could change that a bit, that would help a lot.
Hope you enjoyed that interview with Tom Armbom. Very important. Lots of important things there that Tom is actually talking about. I'd be very keen to find out whether you've enjoyed our new type of way of doing shows. It's partially promoted by you guys yourselves. So you wanted to see more of a show. And so we've put in some interviews. If that's the kind of thing you want to see in the future, let us know. Have we got any likes?
We've got some.
Give us some likes.
We always need more. We always need more.
Come on, give us some likes, for goodness sake. We're about to wrap up for the evening. And again, once again, I emphasise, I hope you have enjoyed it. You can tell it's time to finish because my voice is starting to go.
Right.
That normally means it's the end. And obviously, from Mark and myself, I want to wish you all a super Christmas. And for goodness sake, let's all have an amazing 2026.
Definitely.
I'm off to Norway soon, so I'm going to Scandinavia again. And hopefully I'm going to be in Gearfolken country. So again, if I find anything up there, I promise you I will do a Facebook Live for the Hawk and Owl Trust page. Don't forget some of the things that I've been saying. If you want to support our work, become a member, or you can become one of our adopters of our Adopt a Box scheme. Come on, put it up one more time. There you go. And don't forget, you can adopt a box, and that will help us continue our conservation work. And I hope you agree, some of our important conservation work which we're doing. And as you've heard from David tonight, as well on our nature reserves, the Sculthorpe Moor Nature Reserve over there in Norfolk, and of course here in Somerset with our Shatwick Moor Nature Reserve. Do come and visit our reserves, particularly over Christmas if you need to offload some of that turkey and whatever else you get up to. Get out into nature. Nature's a wonderful place, not just for your head, but also physically as well, moving around. And that only leaves me to say good night from me. And come on, Mark, get your head in. It's Christmas.
Good night from me. Have a happy Christmas.
And I hope you have enjoyed the show. Where's the likes?
They're coming in. We're getting likes.
We are getting likes.
Yeah.
Just keep pushing the button.
Have a
Good
great
night,
Christmas.
everyone. Happy Christmas.
Good night.